Hello, it's Thursday, and Happy New Year! Now, guys, sometime between my New Year and everybody else's New Year finishing, the channel ticked over 100,000 subscribers, so thank you so much for that. I'm gonna have to come up with an idea big enough to celebrate. Now, this year is going to be Year of the Dragon, so what better way than to start off with a little dragon pattern. I know it doesn't technically tick over until, I think it's the 10th of February this year, but it's kind of become a tradition for me at this point to make it my first video of the year. So what are you going to do? So let's talk tools and materials. For today's project, you're going to need 8 ply, 100% acrylic yarn, and we'll talk about colors in just a moment. You're also going to need your 3.5mm hook, a pair of 20mm safety eyes. Now, I will be the first to admit that these eyes are huge in proportion to the project that we are making today. So if you don't have any this size, smaller would definitely work, but I absolutely would not go any larger. Scissors, pins and needles, and some stuffing. But that's it. So for colors today, I am going to be sticking to a pastel assortment. I did kind of like a mermaid theme on my original little dude, but I decided to like brighten it up with, you know, my usual culprits. Now, you don't need to use 4 colors. You could get away with just 1, but I do recommend you have 1 main color for your body and at least 2 accent colors. So here I've got 3 technically because there's a little bit of blue, and I've got 3 that I'm going to be just trying to mix in today. Now, a written version of this little guide will be available on Patreon and will also be listed on Etsy, and I will leave links in the description down below for anybody. With the long sausage of the body, it is all one piece from the nose to the tail, and there are no short rows involved. It's all just done with increases and decreases. So that's a little bit of fun. Okay, so for my main body today, I've decided I'm going to use yellow. So we're going to start with a magic ring of 6. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So pull that tightly. There is the tip of his little nose. We're then going to work 6 single crochet around, so 1 stitch into each of the stitches. Now, I am actively trying to remember to yarn under throughout this project, so if yours is coming out looking a little different to mine, give yarning under a go. So row 3 is then a single crochet, an increase, and I am going to work the first stitch of my increase through just the front loop, and then the second stitch of my increase through both loops of the same stitch. And that is something called an invisible increase, and basically just minimizes the appearance of the tiny gap at the base of the stitch when you work them in something like this. We're then going to work 3 single crochet, 2, 3, then another increase. Now, it doesn't matter if you want to do regular increases instead. I think that whole thing just comes down to personal preference. So you should have 8 stitches in your round at this point. In row 4, we're going to work a single crochet, an increase, 5 single crochet, and an increase, leaving you with 10 stitches in your round. Rows 5, 6, 7, and 8 are all very similar to this and are working to slowly build us up to 18 single crochet in our round. So by the end of row 8, you should have 18 single crochet in your round, and we're then going to work 3 rows of 18 single crochet around for a combined total of 54 stitches. Now, the reason I give a combined stitch total there is just because I find it easier to keep track of counting to 54 once than I do to keep track of how many times I've counted to 18. like so. So that's kind of the back of what I would consider the head of the piece. And so now we're going to just continue working on into the body. Now, where did you get that? You're spoiling things for later. I'm not meant to have made this yet. So just like I talk about in some of my shaping videos, everywhere we want to curve downwards, we're going to load increases on one side and decreases on the other. And then we're just going to use that to sort of balance our way through the giant squiggle. And it'll all hopefully make a little bit more sense as we work through the rows. So we need to start by defining the head. And we're going to do that by working 3 single crochet, 6 decreases, and I am working invisible decreases here as well, so that just means I'm picking up the front loops only of the stitch, yarning over and pulling through both of the front loops, and then yarning over and completing the decrease. You can again just feel free to do standard decreases if that's what you're more comfortable with. And then just 3 single crochet to get us back to the start of our row. So you should have 12 stitches left in your opening, and we have this nice little sort of pulled in defined underhead, jaw, chin, whatever we want to call it. Row 13 starts with 4 single crochet. And then even though we just pulled this shape in there in the last row, we now want to flare it back out to start building the body down this way, not down this way. So we're going to put 4 increases in, one after the other. Then just 4 single crochet to get us back to the start of the row. So there we have the start of the body. Now, from here the shaping is going to get a little bit intense, okay? So we're just going to take it kind of one step at a time. Row 14 is going to start with a decrease, 4 single crochet, an increase, 3 single crochet all into the same stitch, so 1, 2, 3, and we're going to do that again in the next stitch as well. An increase, 4 single crochet, and a decrease to finish off our row. So that should actually leave you with 20 stitches in your opening. So even with all of those decreases happening at the top, we're still increasing more than we are decreasing, meaning we are gaining stitches overall. And that will be continuing over the next few rows. So row 15 starts again with a decrease, then 6 single crochet, three single crochet into the same stitch, two single crochet, 3 single crochet into the same stitch, 6 single crochet, and finish off our row with a decrease. There we go. Now I will encourage you to just stuff your dragon as we go. There's no sort of defined points to stuff in. I am going to stop and just put a little bit into the head now, but just sort of work 5 to 10 rows and then stuff it as you feel is right. Okay, row 16 starts with a decrease, 7 single crochet, three single crochet into the same stitch, two single crochet, 3 single crochet into the same stitch, 7 single crochet up the side, and a decrease to get us back to our starting point. So at this point we should have 24 stitches in our round. So up until now we've just been using regular decreases because we want kind of a gentle slope, but we now are starting to want to get serious about sloping this neck off and building out the body. So we're swapping to single crochet 3 togethers for the next chunk of rows. And all they really are is a decrease over 3 stitches. So row 17 starts with a single crochet 3 together, and I'm going to work that by just inserting my hook through the front loops only of the next 3 stitches, then yarning over and pulling up a loop through all 3, and then yarning over and completing my stitch. So that's how I'm going to be doing mine. There is a sort of regular alternative to that for those of you who have beautifully tight tension, which I do not suffer from personally, but you can also just insert your hook through each stitch at a time and pull up a loop through each individually, then yarn over and complete your stitch that way as well. Perfectly fine. So there is our first stitch of row 17. We're then going to work 7 single crochet, then 3 single crochet all into the same stitch, 2 single crochet, 3 single crochet into the same stitch, 7 single crochet back up the side, and then in the final 3 stitches we are going to work another single crochet 3 together. So already we're getting a little bit more of a serious slope on the back of that head. So row 18 is the exact same row again. So that's what mine looks like at the end of row 18. Row 19 starts with a single crochet 3 together, 5 single crochet, and now instead of continuing to slope downwards, what we actually want to do is curve our chest in and under to start working on this slope here. So we are going to start putting some decreases in, which in this case means 3 repeats of a decrease and a single crochet. So there is our first one. We're going to do 2 more of those. Like so. So that won't be super noticeable just yet, but it is just starting to pull that in. We're then going to finish our row by working 4 single crochet, and then a single crochet 3 together. Now stop and check you have 17 stitches in your round. And a-do, hooray! Row 20 starts with 6 single crochet, a decrease, a single crochet, another decrease, and then 6 single crochet back to our starting point. So you should be starting to see that kind of curve under quite distinctly now. Row 21 starts with 2 increases, and you'll notice that drift means that our starting stitch is no longer directly in the center of the back. We have kind of drifted off to one side. That is not super relevant, it's just more of a fun fact. And then 13 single crochet back to our starting point. So row 22 is going to start focusing on curving this back up into the curve while trying to swing this edge around as quickly as possible. And there is a little bit of a trick to that. So we're going to start with a single crochet, 2 increases, 1 and 2, 4 single crochet, then we're going to work 7 half double crochet around the front of the chest. So a half double crochet means different things in different countries, but here what it means is we yarn over our hook, insert into the stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, leaving you with 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 3. And basically what you end up with is just this slightly taller single crochet. And that is what's going to help swing the outer edge of our curve around a little bit faster, just by giving it that little bit of extra height. So I'm going to work 7 of those in total around the underside of the chest. I have completely lost count. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Nope, we're still doing it. There is our 7th. It's the price we pay for the chatter. Where am I? Okay, and then just 3 single crochet to finish our row. Now that should leave you with 19 stitches in your round. So that has already made a little bit of a difference, and we'll see how that pays off in a couple more rows. Everything's kind of cumulative here. So row 23, we're going to start with 2 single crochet, and notice that our starting point is sort of creeping further and further down the body. I always think it's really interesting just to watch that spiral away into nothing. Then 2 increases. That's our second one. 5 single crochet. Then once again 7 half double crochet. Then just 3 single crochet to get us back to our starting point. Row 24 starts with 4 single crochet. Two increases. Six single crochet down the side. Seven half double crochet. Lose count, go back and check. Nope, we nailed it. Then 2 single crochet back to our starting point. And we actually have 23 stitches in our round at this point. Row 25 starts with 5 single crochet. Two increases. Seven single crochet down the side. And now we're going to start closing off sort of this side of the loop so that the body can curve all the way back up again. So in order to do that, we are going to do 2 repeats of a decrease and then a half double crochet. So we're still adding as much height as we can. So that's 1. We're going to do another. Decrease, half double crochet. Then we're going to do 1 final decrease and then a single crochet to finish our row. So that is the official halfway point through our little mister, or little miss, depending on what you're doing. It might not look like it, but it is. Row 26 is 7 single crochet. Two increases. Seven single crochet. Then 2 repeats of a decrease. Then a single crochet. So that's our first one, and we're going to do another one. Row 27 starts with 8 single crochet. Two increases. 8 single crochet down the side, and then 2 decreases. So row 28 starts with a decrease, 16 single crochet around, and then 2 decreases to finish off our row. Row 29 once again starts with a decrease, and this time we're going to work 15 single crochet around. And then a decrease to finish the row, leaving us with just 17 stitches around. Nom 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 nom. Nom 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 nom. Okay, so now we're going to be giving the top of the body the same treatment we gave the underside of the body here, using half double crochet to help swing it around a little bit faster. So row 30 starts with a decrease, 3 single crochet, 7 half double crochet, three single crochet, and a decrease. Row 31 starts with an increase because we are starting out. You don't really need me to explain every single stitch, I suppose. So yeah, we start with an increase. Then we work 3 single crochet, eight half double crochet, and then 3 single crochet back to our starting point. I got a piece of yarn in my mouth. Dab, 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 dab. Okay, where are we up to? Row 32 is going to start with a single crochet, then an increase, 4 single crochet, seven half double crochet, then 3 single crochet back to our starting point. Row 33 starts with 2 single crochet, an increase, four single crochet, three half double crochet, so 1, 2, 3, and then a decrease at the very top of the back because we're starting our final curve down, then 3 half double crochet down the other side, and 2 single crochet back to our starting point. Row 34 starts with 2 single crochet, two increases, six single crochet, two decreases, then 3 single crochet back to our starting point, leaving us with 17 stitches in our round. And row 35 is pretty much exactly the same. Row 36 is then a nice easy 12 single crochet, two decreases, and a single crochet for 15 stitches in total. Row 37 is 5 single crochet, a decrease, 4 single crochet, and 2 decreases. Bringing us down to 12 stitches. Row 38 is 11 single crochet, then 3 single crochet all into the same stitch. And you might have noticed by now that when we want sort of a gentle slope either way, we go with an increase or a decrease. And when we want a slightly sharper slope in either direction, we go with a single crochet 3 together or 3 single crochet into the same stitch. So that's just something to keep in mind when you're designing your own things as well. Row 39 starts with 12 single crochet, three single crochet all into the same stitch, and a single crochet to finish our row. Scroll, scroll, scroll. Scroll, scroll, scroll is for me, of course, not for you. You stay right where you are. Row 40 starts with 4 single crochet, two decreases, 5 single crochet, two increases, and a single crochet to finish our round. So you should have 16 stitches in your row. So row 41 starts with 3 repeats of a single crochet and a decrease. So there's our first one. We're going to do that 2 more times. Three single crochet to the top of the tail, or just to one side of it, then 2 increases, and 2 single crochet back to the starting point of our row. Row 42 starts with a decrease, then a single crochet 3 together, then a decrease. So we're very serious about closing off the underside of this tail right now. We're then going to work 3 single crochet, two increases, and 3 single crochet back to the start of our row. Now, just as a warning for you, if you haven't in a little while, now is one of the last chances you'll have to stuff this properly, so get to it. Row 43 starts with a single crochet 3 together, then a decrease, 3 single crochet, two increases, a single crochet, and then a decrease. So our opening is starting to get pretty narrow at this point. Row 44 again starts with a single crochet 3 together, 3 single crochet, an increase, then 2 single crochet, and a decrease, leaving us with just 9 stitches in our round. This is the real business end of our dragon. I'm just going to try and stuff a little bit more in there. And honestly, this is the only really major piece to this dragon. The rest are all kind of little bits. So row 45 starts with 2 decreases. And we're just starting to get long enough that it's a little awkward for me to hold it the correct distance from the camera. So I apologize if that's getting harder and harder to see. Then 3 single crochet. And a decrease. Row 46 is 3 single crochet. Then an increase, undoing some of our hard work from last row, and then 2 single crochet. So you have 7 stitches in your round. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Thank goodness. Then row 47 is a decrease and 5 single crochet. Row 48 is basically the same thing again. And then we have 2 rows of 5 single crochet for a combined total of 10 stitches. Now you can add as many rows of 5 single crochet as you would like to add a little bit of length to your tail, but I'm just going to be working 2 today. And finish off. Now you will still have this little opening at the tip of your tail. I'm going to take my remaining strand of yarn and just pull it through the front loops only of each of the stitches around. And pull tight to close. And I'm just going to tuck that end away down inside the tail. And there we have the body of our little dragon. And not a single short row. Sorry, I have a bit of a chip on my shoulder about short rows. Someday maybe I will talk about it. So popping that to one side, I'm going to be grabbing the colour I would like to use for my belly, which is probably the next biggest piece. Now this piece comes with a general disclaimer, okay? So because we're going to be creating a long flat panel that's going to stretch around the underbelly of our dragon, you may need to adjust yours based on how tightly you stitch and what kind of yarn you're using. But the adjustments will always take the form here of just like adding and removing a row if it's too long. So I'm going to be letting you know at what point you can be measuring against your body, which we have made already, obviously, and I will help you work out if you need to make those adjustments. So we are going to start by chaining 7. Now that is a base chain of 5 and then 2 turning chains. So we're going to be starting in the 3rd chain from our hook, and we're going to be working double crochet back and forth here. So a double crochet is when you yarn over your hook, insert into the stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. So you should have 3 loops on your hook. You're then going to yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops and yarn over and pull through the second 2 loops. So there is our first double crochet, and I'm going to work 4 more of those across this base chain. So there is our first row. I'm then going to chain 2 to move up a row and turn my work so I'm looking back across the row we've just done. So this is now row 3 of this piece, just in case those first couple of rows were a little confusing. So row 3 is worked in the back loops only, and all that means is when you look straight down at your stitches, you'll note that there are 2 loops making up each stitch. And we're going to insert our hook just through the loop on the side facing away from us for this row. So work 5 double crochet in the back loops only across your piece. And working in the back loop there, you'll see, has given us this neat little ridge, which I just thought was a nice texture for the underside of a dragon. That is also actually the reason why I've chosen to do double crochet here. Not only does it get you that length really, really quickly, but it's just a nice different texture to introduce into the mix. So end of row 3, we are going to chain 2 and turn. Now we want all of those ridges to end up on the same side of the piece when we're finished. So this row, we are going to work 5 double crochet along, but this time we're going to work in the loops on the side facing us, leaving the back loop free. So the loop is always determined fresh after you turn the work. So there we go, and chain 2 and turn, and you'll see there that gave us another little ridge. So we're actually going to repeat that for 10 more rows of 5 double crochet. My apologies, that is actually 11 rows. Alternating between working in the back loops and the front loops. When in doubt, just make sure that the free loop is always lying on the same side of the piece. There we go. So quite a long piece already, and this is our first point where you can stop and check to see if you need to make any adjustments to it. So all I'm going to do is line our base chain up pretty snugly under that chin, and then not really stretching, just sort of draping around. You should find that where we're up to is kind of a couple of inches in from the end of the tail. So we're going to be sort of narrowing ourselves off here. And what you can do to make adjustments here is either add an additional row of 5 double crochet just to give you a little bit of height, or you can choose to remove a row and sort of cut it back a little bit to make it a little bit shorter. So those are your options. For me, I am happy with the length of it, so I'm going to continue into the next row. So chain 2 and turn. And in this row, we are going to double crochet 2 together. So this is like single crocheting 2 together, but with double crochet. And to do that, I'm going to yarn over my hook, insert my hook through the front loop only, yarn over and pull up a loop, and then yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops on my hook only, like so. I'm then going to do the exact same thing in the next front loop along. So yarn over my hook, insert hook through the front loop, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops on my hook. So that leaves me with 3 loops on my hook, and I'm just going to yarn over and pull through all 3. So that's a decrease worked in double crochets. I'm then going to work just a double crochet in the front loop only of the middle stitch, and then a second double crochet 2 together in the last 2 stitches. Then chain 2 and turn. This feels like it's too long. I'm having doubts, so I'm measuring. That's just how we do. No, okay, no, I'm still good. So working in the back loops only, I'm going to work 3 double crochet. See, even I need to trust the process sometimes. Give me a little time to work with me here. Chain 2. Turn our work, and then in the front loops only we are going to work a double crochet 3 together. So it's the same as a 2 together, but across 3 stitches. like so, chain 2 and turn, and just work 1 double crochet through both loops, nothing fancy here. And you can try it on for size again here and decide whether or not you need this final row, which is again chaining 2 and turning, and working a double crochet again. So depending on how long and skinny you made your tail, you may need to add additional rows of just 1 double crochet, or you may need to remove one so that it doesn't like hang over the edge. So it's just a case of trying it on relatively frequently. So, and you do want it to reach pretty much exactly to the tip of the tail, like mine is there. I am stretching very slightly, but otherwise I think that is the perfect length. So I am going to finish off. So that is our belly piece. So with those 2 pieces done, we are now going to make his front legs. Now the front legs and back legs of our little guy here are different. However, they all start the exact same way with this foot. So I'm going to show you how to make the foot now. So for our front legs, I'm going to start once again in my main color with a magic ring of 6. I'm then going to work 3 increases. And then 3 single crochet back to our starting point. So there is the sole of our little foot, and we should have 9 stitches in the round. Now in the next row we're going to be adding the fancy little toenails, which will hopefully look a little bit less shabby than mine do at the moment, but we do what we can. So we are going to have our accent color, or one of your accent colors available. I'm going to be using green today. And we're going to start row 3 with a single crochet, changing to our accent color. Now, how we work those color changes are we insert our hook into the stitch, yarn over with our existing color, and then hold that color out of the way and grab the color we are changing to. I am going to pinch that on the inside of the work at the base of the stitch and yarn over with it, pulling it through both of those loops, and tug on my yellow just to tighten that stitch down into place. And what that has done is given us a finished single crochet in our yellow, but my green is now on my hook ready to go. So, sorry, I will mention, I'm sorry for the confusing order of this particular row, but I did just want to mention that row 3 does start with 3 repeats of a single crochet and then a double treble. So that color change stitch we just did was the first single crochet of the first repeat. So then we're going to do a double treble crochet in our green, but we're going to be working it changing back to our yellow. So that sounds a whole lot more complicated than it actually is. So I am going to show you how to do a double treble crochet with the color change attached at the end, but I did just want to get ahead of it and say if you prefer to do just a treble crochet or even just a double crochet, you can. It's just his toenails will be smaller and smaller and smaller depending on what size stitch you use. So a double treble crochet is worked by yarning over your hook 3 times, inserting into the stitch, yarning over and pulling up a loop. So you should have 5 loops in total on your hook. I'm then going to yarn over and pull through 2 loops at a time until there are just 2 loops remaining on my hook. And then I'm going to hold my green out of the way, grab my yellow and just pull it across from where it is at the base of the stitch, and yarn over with it and finish the stitch. So that is what my toenail currently looks like. As we go to work the next stitch, you'll note that that stitch kind of folds over to form the little claw. So that is actually the first repeat of the 3 we are working. So the next stitch is a single crochet, changing back to our green. So we'll just work that. Then another double treble crochet, or whatever size toenail you're using, to change back to our yellow. A single crochet in our yellow, changing back to our green. And a double treble crochet, changing back to our yellow. So those are the 3 repeats at the start of row 3. We are then going to work 2 single crochet. So the first one is just a normal single crochet, and the second one is a single crochet changing back to our green, bringing us to the final claw of the foot. Now I did just want to stop here and acknowledge the fact that this final back claw is going to be slightly more to one side than the other just because of how many stitches we have available to us. Now I understand that some of you are really super into the details and having your claw off to one side might bother you. So I will just flash up on the screen now an alternate row 3 if you want to do a left foot and a right foot, just moving that back claw. But I want it to be known that I am going to be using the left foot pattern for all 4 of my feet today. And we're going to make that final claw changing back to our yellow. And there we are at the end of row 3. So you'll note this final claw is still not quite secured properly, but we'll take care of that in row 4. That is the end of our green, but I am just going to work over it for a couple of stitches to lock it into place. I'm a little superstitious about that. Superstitches? I feel like there's a pun there. Yeah, so moving into row 4, we are going to work just 9 single crochet around in our yellow. And as mentioned, I'm going to work over the top of my green just for a little bit to help me feel a little bit more secure that those claws aren't going to unravel. And that 9th stitch should fall into your final toenail. So I'm just going to trim off my accent colour there. Tuck those ends down inside there. So now for row 5, we are going to work a single crochet, 3 decreases, and then 2 single crochet back to our starting point. So that is our foot. And it's the same for all 4 feet, or, you know, you've got 2 left on 2 right, depending on how you wanted to do that. So we're going to need one of these for each of the front legs and each of the back legs. So I won't be running through that tutorial again, but we are now going to carry on and I'm going to show you how to finish off the front leg. So we start with 6 single crochet around. Then we're going to work 2 single crochet, a decrease, and 2 single crochet, which does bring our round down to 5 stitches. We are then going to work 3 single crochet all into the same stitch, a single crochet, and then single crochet 3 together. So you should still have 5 stitches in your round, but it's very, very tiny. You can at this point stuff a little bit of stuffing down into the foot if you would like. Row 9 starts with a single crochet, 3 single crochet all into the same stitch, a single crochet, and a decrease. So you should now have 6 stitches in your round. Then row 10 is 5 single crochet, and then 3 single crochet all into the same stitch, leaving you with 8 in your round. For row 11, we work 2 single crochet, a single crochet 3 together, and feel free to do the regular form of that if the invisible form that I just did is too tricky. Then 2 single crochet, and 3 single crochet all into the same stitch. And we are now just going to work 2 rows of 8 single crochet around for a combined total of 16 stitches. And finish off. So it's looking goofy, you see? It's got a weird little zigzag. It's a little bit of a goofy shape. Got like a weird little like zigzag and straight going on. I'm going to stuff a little bit of stuffing down there with my nearest convenient poking implement, which is my hook today, not my finger. Does not fit. That can of course be a little bit more of an annoying way to stuff things, but it's worth it. So as I stuff it, I am just squishing the foot flat And I'm mainly stuffing this kind of trunk of the leg. I want the opening to be fairly empty, those last 2 rows we did, and the foot should be squished. There is our finished front leg. But wait, I hear you say, isn't it supposed to have a fancy frill on the back of it? Yes, it is. We'll get to that in a moment, okay? Just patience. So I'm going to pop that to one side and thank you. And make a second one. No, that's a back leg. And make a second one. My second little scrawny chicken wing. And I'm going to pop those to one side, and I'm just going to very quickly whip up a foot, the same that we did with the front leg, up to the end of row 5. We're then going to work 3 rows of 6 single crochet around for a combined total of 18 stitches. Then row 9 is 4 single crochet, 3 single crochet into the same stitch, and then a single crochet to get back to the start of our round. So that should bring us up to 8 stitches. We're then going to work 5 single crochet, three single crochet into the same stitch, and then 2 single crochet, leaving us with 10 stitches in our round. Row 11 and 12 are both 10 single crochet around for a combined total of 20 stitches. Like so, and then finally row 13 is 6 single crochet, single crochet 3 together, and then a single crochet to get back to the start of our row and finish off. And once again, I'm going to put just a little bit of stuffing in him, but only up to about this point here. We want the main drumstick. We want the main drumstick to be relatively flat and empty. That may have been an overstuffing, but it'll have to do. So make 2 little back legs as well. So we have all of its legs. So the rest of this pattern is kind of just, oh, excuse you, kind of just a lot of bits. So I think what we'll tackle next is these back spines, just because they're really fun. I think they're really fun to make. Line you up so the nice people can see. And while I'm hesitant to introduce another colour to this mix, I'm going to. So I'm going to grab some purple, and we're going to start by chaining 3. I'm going to turn, starting in the second chain from my hook, work a slip stitch into each of the 2 stitches. Now at this point I can feel the quiver in your soul as you're worried that I'm going to make you make each one of these individually and sew them on. No, that's not what we're about. Nope. Instead, we are going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Turning, and again working down the chains we just did, we are going to work 2 slip stitches. 1 and 2. Now that will leave the final chain that we just did unworked. That's fine, that's the little gap between the spines. So I'm going to repeat that step 15 more times to create a whole bunch of little spines. Now you can make more or less of these depending on what you prefer and the look that you're going for. Just like that, just a whole row of tiny little teeth. And I'm going to stop there. You can line yours up down your back. Just make sure that you've got enough to go the distance. So for mine, I'm not going to go all the way to the front of the head. I'm going to start at the back, and I don't want it to go all the way to the tip of the tail either. So that is why I'm stopping with, it's 17 spikes in total. But if you want yours to go all the way to either end, you can just sort of add another couple No worries. So there are our spines. So next up I think we're going to do the pieces for the face. Again, this is just a serving suggestion. It's not mandatory, but the face is kind of made up of an eyepiece, a little frill, which is the same frill that we're using for the legs, by the way, a couple of little horns, and some little, I'm calling them ears. I think they're ears. So I think what we'll start with is the eyepiece. So yeah, just like with the spines, I just want to remind you that all of these pieces are kind of optional, and you can sort of pick and choose what you like for your dragon and use them to like build your own little creature. So for the eye, I was feeling kind of creative. So we are going to start with a magic ring, but it's of 8 stitches. Now this piece is designed specifically for the 20mm safety eyes that I use. If you're using smaller eyes, this piece will potentially appear a little bit big, in which case you could try sizing it down to just a magic ring of 6 and working from there. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Can't count and talk at the same time anymore. I'm all out of practice. 8. And I'm going to pull that tight and not like super tight. I want room for the stem of my eye in there. Or you can, and to finish my thought, or you could choose to like construct your eyes in a different way. For row 2, I'm going to work 8 increases around for a total of 16 stitches. Like so. And in row 3, I'm going to pinch in either side to give it a little bit more of an eye look. So we start by working 2 single crochet. 1 and 2, then a decrease, a picot, which I don't think we've done yet this pattern, so we work those by chaining 3, and I chain the first one normally, and then I pull the next 2 really, really tight. Then we just slip stitch into the first of the 3. Creates this kind of little bobble or spike, then a decrease. Now I will mention that it doesn't really matter. I was going to say it doesn't add a stitch to the row, but we're not working another row after this, so it doesn't matter. Then 4 single crochet. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you see how that's kind of like pinched in one side for like a little tear duct. We're going to do the same thing on the other side here. So work a decrease, then a picot. 1, 2, and another decrease. Finally, we're just going to work 2 single crochet back to the start of our row. And then I'm going to slip stitch into the back loop only of the next stitch and finish off. So that's just going to help that knot not stick out quite so far. In fact, if you want to be super fancy with it, insert your hook from the outside to the inside of the next stitch and pull your tail around and through. And it tucks it to the back, so it's even less noticeable. Now, my dragon has 2 eyes, so I've made 2 eyes, and I am just going to snap. No, Christmas wasn't that hard. I'm going to snap the backs of my eyes on. These ones here were relatively cheap, so I just need to trim them first. Just into the middle. You want them to like fold over on top of your eye a little bit. And backs on. And there are my little dragon eyes. So next, I will show you how I made the frill that goes behind each eye and on the back of each leg. So you are going to need 6 of these in total. So I'm going to be making the ones for my eyes in the same color as my toenails. It's a little matchy-matchy, but I think it's fine. And this is kind of like a little bit of a freeform, odd piece. I don't know, I kind of winged this one. No pun intended, this dragon does not have wings. We're going to chain 7 and get back on track. I'm so sorry, I'm so waffly. I haven't spoken to a camera in weeks, and now I'm just like blah, 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 blah. So we're going to turn and start in the second chain from our hook, and I'm going to work 3 half double crochet all into that same stitch. So that's exactly the same way we did on the body. 2, We're then going to work a picot, same way we just did for the eyes. Creating a little spike. And then I'm going to slip stitch into the same stitch we were just working our half double crochets into, and into the next stitch along the chain. So there's our first little frill, and we're going to do it again. So in the next stitch along, work 3 half double crochet, then a picot, a slip stitch into the same stitch, and a slip stitch into the next stitch. It's number 2, and 1 more. And that final slip stitch should just fall in the last chain. Finish off. So there is my little curly whirly bit. So it's to go behind an eye, and you should make some, I think I just threw something across the room, and you should make some in an alternate colour as well to go behind your legs. I'm not really sure how this colour scheme is coming together. I maybe should put a little more planning in, but we'll see. You'll need 1 for each leg and 1 for each eye. Depending on how bad I feel like you need a mental break here, there may be a montage or I may just cut to it. Whew. Oh, okay, I struggled with those today, which is funny because they're just not that complicated of a piece. So you'll see there I have 1 for each of my legs and 1 for each of my eyes. I'm just going to scooch them out of the way. What do we have left? Ears! Let's make some little ears. So the ears are 2 coloured. We've got 1 colour in the middle and 1 colour on the outside. You can choose to make yours all in 1 colour if you would prefer. So in my main body colour, I'm going to start with a magic ring of 6. But I am going to be changing to my accent colour in the 6th stitch. Yes, we can absolutely do that in a magic ring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's my starting 5, and then my 6th is going to be a colour change. And let's use this. I'm just pretty arbitrarily picking my colours at this point, which I'm sure I will regret. At least they're all pretty together, you know. There we go. And then pull my magic ring tight. So yellow magic ring all set, but my orange is now on my hook. And we're going to work 6 increases. Like so. I'm then going to skip the next stitch and just slip stitch into the one after that, which is just going to pull your ear into a very slightly curved over cup type position and finish off. Trim off the ear hair, and some of these are going to be kind of sticking out the middle, and we don't really want that, so instead I'm just going to pull them all up and out closer to where we're going to attach it to the body. And I am using my fingers to form them into more of a cup shape. They will try and sit flat on you. Just curl them over, show them who's boss. You got this. Pop them to one side. What other bits have we got? Horns! We have horns. What colour am I going to make these horns? We're going to have to mock up this head for me to tell what colour I want the horns to be. So I'm just going to pin a bunch of these pieces into place and get a feel for what colour I think the horns should be. Oh, I have mucked this up right proper. You know what? I'm going to split the difference. I'm going to make my horns both colours. So I'm going to start in this colour here with a magic ring of 5. Not going any narrower than that, but 5. I'm then going to work 5 rows of 5 single crochet each. And you can change colours as many or as few times in these 5 rows as you like. So I'm just going to change colour every 2nd row after this first one. The only important thing to note is that row 7, which was not included in the previous rows I was talking about, is also 5 single crochet around, but we want that to be in our base color. So whatever color you've used for the head, use that color for the final row of the horn, and it will help you it will just help you attach it a little bit more seamlessly. And finish off. And trim off any of the other colors throw your hook. That's an important step. Just tuck all your ends down away inside. Hope for the best. Cross your fingers for me. She's not the most coherent dragon, but we're just gonna... Just a lot of orange in the equation. Actually, you know what? The belly kind of helps it work. Okay, make a second horn. And whatever mistakes you made with the first one, make sure you make them again with the second. Because it's not a mistake if we do it on purpose. Voila. Okay. Is that all the pieces? Are we done? No, there's one more piece left. Okay, there is just one more piece left. We've got this. I even know what color I'm going to use. We need to make some little finny bits for the tail. So we make 4 of this piece. Feel free to use as many or as few colors as you like. I will be making mine all in the same color because I think the last thing I need right now is more colors in this particular mix. So the tail fins, we are going to chain 6. Then turning, starting in the second chain from our hook, we are going to work a slip stitch, a half double crochet, a double crochet, a half double crochet, and then a slip stitch, and finish off. Pinch to help it form its point. Someone pinch me to help me form my point. And then we're going to make 3 more of those. Feels almost like a magic trick sometimes, doesn't it? Okay, wiggle my fingers for a couple of hours and poof, a dragon has been summoned. Okay, there we go. That's it. Cool, we have all of our pieces. And now for everybody's favourite bit. Let's spend the next 2 hours sewing on a million tiny pieces. Let's just bring a little bit of order to this. So, yeah. Those are not fingernails, by the way. I'm not gross. Those are the bits from the back of the eye that I just cut off. This is kind of the order we're going to go in. We're going to start by sewing the belly on. Then we will do the spines. Then we'll finish assembling the tail with those little fins we just made. Then we'll assemble the head, which means horns, ears, the first of our frillies, and eyes. Then it'll be front legs, back legs, and finally the frills that go on the legs. So now that these are all organized, I'm probably just gonna do that. And just one final thing about the assembly of this, it's just a reminder, this is just how I'm putting together mine today. I'm showing you in case you're interested, but I would really encourage you to just be creative with it, attach these pieces however you like. So, grabbing our dragon body and our belly piece. So looking at our belly piece, the ridges are going to be facing outwards and the pointy end goes on the tip of the tail. So I'm going to start by pinning the pointy end to the tail, like that, and then pinning our flat end really scooched up under that chin. And it's just a matter of scooching it against the body, distributing it so that there's no bubbles, and pin, pin, pin. Use as many or as few pins as you like. Pinning is never something that should be rushed because pinning is significantly easier to change and move pieces around than it is to sew them on and then try and unpick your stitches and reposition then. So if you don't like it when it's pinned on, change your pins. Don't sew it on and assume it'll be fine. I've made that mistake before. Now I will be doing most of my assembly today using my body color to sew things on. Okay, so then I'm just gonna sort of start here. And I'm going to sew. Oh my goodness, that hurt. right onto the nail. I'm going to sew all the way around the edge and back up the other side. And we're going to do that now. So let me assure you that process took a lot longer for me than it just did for you. That's okay. And weave all your ends in as you go. That's not optional. There are too many pieces to attach for you to allow yourself to be laissez-faire with your tidy up. Am I using that correctly? I don't really speak French. Okay, one orange-bellied worm. Focusing though. Focusing because we got stuff to do today. Let's grab our spines. Here we are. Doesn't really matter which end is the start and the finish. They should be the same the whole way along. So the thing about these spines is I don't actually want mine to go all the way to the tip of the tail or to the back of the or to the top of the head. So what I'm going to do for mine specifically is find row 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And starting in the center of the head behind that row 12. So you want it centered on top, and you will be able to notice if you don't take the time to do this properly. Okay? And then I'm just going to like very casually drape my spines down the curve, anchor it at the bottom, then up the second curve, down into the final little divot, and woe is me, my spikes easily reach the tip of my tail, but instead I'm just going to trick it by just like scrunching them up a little bit. And I think I'm going to add some more of my length up here so that they don't go quite so far down the body. And that's kind of what I mean when I say take your time pinning, because like I can easily do this now, but once I start sewing, that would have been a problem. If I was feeling super motivated, I could unpick one of the spines, but I think this is a perfectly acceptable solution. Just scooch everything on down, check our central alignment. And I would encourage you to use all the pins for this. Every pin. So many pins you change your jargon to a steel type. Okay, so relatively centered. I'm pretty happy with that. Now, once again with my yellow, I have to go along and sew all of that very carefully to not pull my alignment one way or the other. And there is no trick to that. It's literally just a matter of going as slow as possible and making sure that you're being very careful not to pull things out of line. So for each spine, I'm trying to go one stitch with my needle inserted through the middle of the base of the spike, and then one stitch over the top of the gap in between. And that's just to try and break up some of this purple a little bit, but also it's just going to help me line things up and just make sure things are really, really anchored the way I want them to be. Like those spikes aren't going anywhere. There we go. How's my alignment looking? Chaotic? Excellent. Once again, trim and tuck. All ends, no excuses. Now we have a spiny orange-bellied snake. So, I said I'd do the tail next. I should probably do the tail next. Okay, grab your tail pieces. For me, that consists of just these 4 little fins. Now, if you look carefully at each of these pieces, you'll note that one side has stitch loops and the other side is foundation chain. I strongly recommend that you use that to your advantage and make sure that your stitch loops are all facing either upwards or all facing downwards, depending on what you prefer. So I'm going to start by just pinning the first 2 at the tip of my tail. 2. Then we'll just sew those on real quick. Yeah. I'm hooked. So there are my first two. I'm going to take my next two, checking my stitch alignments, line them up just underneath. Sew those on as well. Okay, got one swishy tail. And now we are moving on to the face. So the head is made up of many, many pieces that have to be assembled in a certain order because otherwise you don't stand a chance of sewing them all on. I'm going to show you how to pin everything in place, just to show you what it's all going to look like. And then what I would like you to do is take each layer off, sew on the bottom layer, apply the next layer again, sew it on, apply the next layer again, sew it on. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to grab our eyes first, which is funny because they're actually the last piece we sew on. Now, we've got these handy dandy little points on either side of the eye, and they should line up with row 5 and row 12. So that's starting at the tip of the nose. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are rough positionings. They're obviously huge. They're big. Those are big eyes. So however you can get yours to fit that looks normal to you is perfectly fine. Ooh, this one's got a little inherent rage. It's because I've put it on with the finishing off point at the top, and I would much rather have the finishing off point at the bottom. It just makes for a slightly more peaceful dragon. One, and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Okay, close enough for now. So then, with those in position, you're going to get a better idea of where all of these other little bits are going to go. So with the horns, we want them lined up with row 12 on either side of our spine there. So 1, and now those will actually be the first pieces we sew on. Next will be the ears, which go pretty much directly below the horns, also in line with row 12. And then finally we are going to take our little frills. Now, as I mentioned before, you can choose to have them so that these frills point downwards like this, or you can have them up the other way so they point upwards. But I would suggest that whichever direction you pick, you do the same thing for the legs as well as the ones on the head. So I went downwards with my first one, so I'm going to go downwards with these ones too. And they will just tuck in on top of the horns and ear like that. So that is what the face is going to look like. But in order to actually access it and sew it on, we actually need to take the eyes off. So that all we have are the horns, and you could maybe leave the ears on as well, depending on how good you are at like getting into those little details and sewing. So I'm going to sew these 4 pieces on, like so. Then I'm going to sew the fans over the top. Tuck your ends in, okay? And finally, we are going to sew our eyes back into place. Like so. So there is the head of our little dragon assembled, even if she's looking like she ran through the bin at a fair. Got all the extra candy floss stuck to her. So next we just have the legs, and I know I've already said that the head was the most complicated bit, but the legs are, they're up there. Trying to get everything to balance is surprisingly tricky. So on this guy here, I had the legs fairly spaced out. You can also kind of position them almost in like a little pony. Not a My Little Pony, but a pony pose. But I feel like it minimizes how much of that nice body squiggle you can see, but I also just thought it's in your best interest to know the available poses. So if you move this back leg further up, your dragon will sit very pleasingly in this position, but if you want to really emphasize the squiggle that is the fellow, you basically attach one leg to each of like the down swoops. And sadly there's no real trick to this. You have to pin them so that all 4 feet touch the ground. That's really important. and that so that your dragon doesn't wobble. So I'm actually this is gonna take me a moment. So I'm actually gonna swap to a hyperlapse while I try and get that worked out, just so I don't waste either of our time. And remember, if a four-legged creature can't stand on three legs, your legs aren't balanced properly. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. So I actually think that I got the positioning a bit better than the other one. I do feel like he looks like a longer snaky boy with his legs sort of further apart. But with them slightly closer together, I think that there's sort of nicer form language. So there's kind of options to you. This is where I'm positioning mine today. Pause it here if you want a reference image. Underneath. I don't know how useful on top is, but there we go. And this is how they were positioned for a slightly longer snaky look. It does make his tail look a little bit shorter when you do them like this though, from underneath. So just really emphasizing today that I want you to be creative, and I want you to send me pictures on Instagram and Discord. Tell you what, if you send me the pictures before I finish making the doubled version, I will try and include some of them in the end of that video. So yeah, I'm just going to sew these legs on. So the names you're seeing on the screen at the moment are my patrons, and I am so grateful to them. Their ongoing support allows me to make these videos and release these patterns and keeping them mostly free here on YouTube, which is just really great. And I could not do what I'm doing right now without their support. So much love and gratitude to all of these wonderful people. Okay, so now we have our stable little dragon. We just have these little frills to attach, so making sure the points all face the same way. I'm just going to curl them loosely around the upper part of each of the four legs. Do I wish I'd made them in another colour? Yeah. I also think the orange is fine, however. It's fine. And then we are just going to sew them on. There's always so much pressure with contrast stitching. And there is our finished dragon. I hope you had fun making them with me. Now, let me know in the comments what your Chinese zodiac sign is. I am personally the snake, so my year is coming up next year. Now next week I'm going to be using my doubling process to make a bigger, cooler version of this little guy. So I hope to see you all there. Okay, bye!